Hi, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of the College Court Report podcast. We are a two-man show. It's the first episode of the Wednesday podcast that will focus more on the X's and O's of basketball, recruiting, coaching styles, all that good stuff. On Monday, we announced that it was supposed to be myself, Tyler Bennett, and Nico Wright, but week one and Nico is absent. He is in Toronto at the G League Showcase, which kicks off tonight, actually Wednesday night. So all the power to Nico, but in his place we got Ryan Scarfone. Ryan, how are you, bud?
Doing well. Happy to be here. Let's just say I'm surprised, but not surprised that Nico is MIA. This is supposed to be his show, and maybe I might do better than him. That I might be here full time. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah, it could be us 3 days a week. You never know. But you got some big shoes to fill. As you know, Nico is large and in charge, so
he actually does have big feet.
You have to fill those quite nicely, else it'll be outrageous.
But I can beat him in ball. He knows it. I know it. You know it. But
I don't know it.
Yeah, we played 1-on-1 in the summer, one time, and I handled him pretty well.
Yeah, he played 1-on-1 one time probably.
He'll say otherwise. He'll say I'm like baby food or something like that. But when I get going, I can shoot. I can shoot.
What else can you do? Is that it?
Corner three. It's my specialty.
So that's still shooting?
But when I go cold, oh, jeez. It's colder than what we're experiencing out here. How cold was it?
It's not too cold. I know. It's only like -6.
Yeah, but a couple days ago it was brutal. How was that in Calgary?
Well, I've been out here for 2 weeks now.
Was it as cold in Calgary as it was here?
Calgary's more of a dry cold. Like you can bundle up and you're fine. Here it's so damn damp that you put on a winter coat and you're still freezing. So I'll take the Calgary cold, but I'd prefer no cold and no snow. But I'm Canadian, so
I prefer to have California type weather. We should just move to California.
Trump's there.
Not in California.
No, but his presence is felt all across the United States.
Funny story about Trump. Okay, college football playoff championship yesterday, Georgia and Alabama. He was there singing. Okay, he was attempting to sing the national anthem, and they zoomed in on him, and he was trying to mumble the words, but he wasn't getting them right. It was unreal.
That's the president, folks. Apparently he got booed as he entered to his motorcade. Got booed as it was driving in, but then apparently they cheered when he walked out on the field. So I don't know. I didn't watch the game. I didn't give two shits who won.
Unreal. You love college
basketball.
Sports in general.
Yes.
Oh, you only love college basketball. The truth comes out.
I watched Michigan State beat Washington State. That's my team. Season's over once they're done. I don't care anymore.
What a game you missed.
Well, and after Alabama beat Michigan State, I think it was 3 years ago on New Year's Eve.
Oh, you'll watch that.
38-0. And ever since then, I can't stand Alabama.
Funny enough, before you and I were talking, you're like how Michigan State's going to win or going to be in that same championship game next year.
I didn't say they'd win. I said they'd be there.
I looked at a way too early 2019 football standings, and for some reason,
are we?
Michigan State is number 9 in the way too early top 25. I'm going to have to do some more research on that.
By more, you mean do some research. You haven't done any yet.
OT, backup quarterback for Alabama, throws an absolute dime to win. Unreal.
I was enjoying a good night's rest.
But now that football's over, we can totally focus on college basketball.
I've already been doing that since the start of the season.
I've been kind of half and half because, football is...
One of us is committed, one of us isn't.
Hey, I've been pumping out content.
And then you've got Nico, who's out to lunch.
Literally probably out to lunch.
It's about 3 o'clock, yeah. He'll be at work for a while, so he's probably having lunch right now. But I'm going to dive right into the first episode of Wednesday's podcast, which, like we said, will focus on more of the recruiting side of things, coaching styles, X's and O's, that kind of stuff. And It's about 3 weeks old now, but Ashton Hagans, 5-star point guard in the 2019 class, number 19 in ESPN's top 60 rankings, committed to Georgia. Not many people really talked about it when it first came out, probably outside of the Georgia fans for the most part. I mean, it happened on December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas. Merry Christmas to the Bulldogs. Big-time recruit for Mark Fox and company. What are your thoughts on Hagans? I know you watched a little bit of his tape before we came on. What did you like about his game?
I mean, like I said to you earlier, you can never really tell if a guy is a good shooter just because most hoop mixtapes show the good and only the good. So all of his shots, of course, went in. But yeah, in order to really tell if he's a good shooter, you have to consistently watch him, which I have not because this is the first time I've heard of this kid. Glad he went to Georgia, though, instead of, another SEC powerhouse like Kentucky. But they're not doing so hot. But that's another podcast for another day. I like his court awareness. He's a good ball distributor, and he's really smooth at driving to the basket, draws contact well, finishes well. Good pickup for the Bulldogs. He had an offer pretty much from everyone: Kentucky, Florida State, UNLV, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Miami, Florida, UConn, you name it. He had an offer there. 32 offers. But
must be nice.
And under the crystal ball for 24/7 Sports, looks like Georgia will hang on to him. They have them at 43% chance of getting it, and then Florida State's at 29%, and then so on and so on. But yeah, I like the way this kid plays. I'm interested to see how he develops in college, even if he does stay for 1 year, probably.
Yeah, I don't think he's the first Georgia recruit to stay home and play for Georgia since 2011 when Caldwell Pope stayed home. I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that decommits and goes to a different school or whatnot. I think even though he's still a junior in high school, technically, he's going to stick around and be that point guard of the future, of potentially 1 year future for the Bulldogs. But when he played AAU this summer with Game Elite at the Adidas Gauntlet, he put up 14 points, 5.5 rebounds, and over 8 assists a game. With the exception of the offensive game, you look at the assists and scoring, a little bit like Trae Young, to an extent. Like you said before we came on, you liked his ability to draw contact in the lane and his ball distribution skills, and it kind of resembles Young to an extent. Obviously, he's still only a junior, and it's interesting to see how he plays out. But I like the fact that he did go to Georgia, like you said, over the traditional blue blood programs. It's nice to see guys starting to follow that trend and go different ways, not necessarily to the Dukes or the Kentuckys or the North Carolinas. To me, it's refreshing. It really is refreshing. It adds more draw to the game overall because you get to see big-time guys, like 5-star guys in different places. He's the first 5-star guy to go to Georgia.
Well, it's just like you want college basketball to be more than just, a handful of teams. You want the top 25 to be a little different, which it is right now. And you want these guys to just, break the trend of just always going to your Dukes and Kentuckys because, if sports gets predictable, it gets boring. So having these teams like, your Cincinnatis or your Tennessees become good, it's cool to see. And it's kind of easy for us to say, oh, I wouldn't go to a Kentucky or Duke if I was a blue chip recruit, which in another video, we'll have a fun little scenario of where we'll go. But it's hard. It's easy for us to say, but if a big time program like Duke wants you, it's pretty hard to say no. Or the reputation that Coach K has that he's developed, and the different players he's sent to the NBA. It's hard not to give it a look and not to give it a really. It's hard not to give it a chance. We're just greedy because we want the smaller schools and not necessarily smaller schools, but the lesser known programs to get their love. But yeah, I can see for both sides.
Yeah, and it does come down, I think, on a personal level for us, a little bit greedy, but it's nice to see, well, as you've seen this year, the level of parity in college basketball is probably at an all-time high. And I think if guys like Hagans, and you've got the likes of Bol, who went to Oregon, Simi Shitu went to Vandy with Garland, you've got Basley who went to Syracuse, Jalen Smith went to Maryland. You've got 5 of the top 15 guys in the 2018 recruiting class that have gone to schools outside of those traditional powers on the recruiting trail. So I think that's good for the game because guys want to be the go-to guy. They don't want to go to a Duke and maybe only play 15 minutes a game and not put their talents on display. And like we said before too, if you're a top like 15, 20 recruit, kind of a fringe first-round draft pick in a sense, it may be better for you to go to one of these lesser-known schools on the recruiting trail, maybe go against the grain a little bit and make a name for yourself somewhere else. And
like a Northwestern or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Northwestern or a Maryland or the Vanderbilts, and be that go-to guy and show how you can lead a team, and maybe you pull off an upset over these power schools, Kentuckys and Dukes, and really stand out in kind of essentially like Trae Young going to Oklahoma, and he took a team that was 5-13 in conference play last season, and now they're 8th ranked, I think, and Final Four contenders. So you can follow Trae Young trajectory in a sense and work your way into that conversation of a top 5, top 10 pick, and really go against the grain and play for somebody that's a little bit off the charts in a sense in recruiting, and really make a name for yourself and stand out amongst the rest.
And I understand, like, these guys go to Duke and Kentucky just because, like, that's where the media attention is. And, they have, like I said before, like Coach Calipari and Coach K, they've sent a lot of guys to the NBA. So that looks good on their end and, appeals to recruits. But I think, like, that sort of recruiting pitch, to me, I feel like would only really would work in football, where they would actually have a huge part. The coach would have a huge part in getting these guys ready, like, for the NFL, because they stay 3 to 4 years. Whereas in basketball, these guys are gone after a year. Would they have gone to the NBA, or would they have been picked by the team that they were picked in the draft? Would that all have happened if they didn't go to Kentucky or a Duke? I think they still would. I think in most cases, these blue chip prospects are going to get drafted at the same spot, regardless of where they play. So going to, like, staying in your hometown and playing for your hometown team, like a Georgia, is not bad, because at the end of the day, you still get to play against these great teams. So when you play against, your Kentuckys, you're going to be on TV anyways. And you get to be the guy instead of, going to Kentucky. There's lots of players that go to big time schools, and then after the years go by, they just start, the younger guys rise up, and then they just start to get buried. So you have to be careful on that. And I mean, the one guy from Michigan, he was on Kentucky. I don't think he was getting playing time in Kentucky. Forget his name. He's like Michigan's best player. The transfer.
Yeah, slipped in my mind right now. Well, they've got Charles Matthews. Yeah. Well, then you've got Marcus Lee, who went from Kentucky, went out to Cal to play too. And he wasn't getting playing time. And, I mean, Cal's terrible this year. But when you look at the NBA and you look at player prospects of going from college to the NBA, you don't necessarily have to go to the big-time schools to play. And 3 guys that come to my mind that kind of went against the grain, maybe not the biggest prospects in the world, but they developed over time and are doing rather well in the NBA, or Kyle Kuzma, went to Utah. You've got D'Angelo Russell, it's Ohio State. And Larry Nance for Lakers went to Wyoming.
A lot of the guys on Toronto.
Yeah.
went to
You
Utah.
got Jakob Pertl, went to Utah. You got Pascal Siakam, went to New Mexico State. Van Vliet went to Wichita State.
DeLon Wright went to Utah.
DeLon Wright went to Utah. Norm Powell went to UCLA. Like the list goes on and on, right? There's different, like going to these big time schools doesn't guarantee the NBA. And I think Jahlil Okafor is a good example of that, going to Duke and having all this prestige out of high school, and look how that panned out.
What a disappointment he's had in the NBA.
Yeah. Greg Oden's the same way, Ohio State, and that was a terrible bust due to injuries and everything else, but that's another podcast for another day as well. But I just think the trend is, I think, slowly shifting to where guys steer clear of those power schools because just simply for more playing time. I don't think they want to be that guy who comes off the bench and plays 15 minutes a game and puts up 3 points. They'd rather be playing 35 minutes a game and put up 18, 19 points and be the lead guy and maybe still a power conference school, but not the marquee programs, and kind of really stand out and make a name for themselves. And
I mean, if I was going to school to play ball, I would want to play as much as possible because you don't necessarily want to wait. Like if you're, if you just kind of go on as a walk-on, not expecting to play, but if you're being recruited, you don't want to sit on the bench because you want to, if your goal is to get to the NBA or just to play professionally in general, your goal should not be to waste any time. Just, sure, you might need a couple years of development and to be on the bench and to learn from the guys. But at the end of the day, if you're not playing consistently by the time you're a junior or a senior, you should have made another decision, because these recruits also should look kind of ahead. And I know it's hard to do, but like kind of look ahead of what kind of prospects are they going to be bringing in the next couple of years? Will my playing time be jeopardized by that? Or do they not get that many good players each year and I'll be okay to start year after, you know what I mean? So like with Kentucky, these guys have competition literally the year after their freshman season if they stay, because younger guys come in and threaten to take over. Yeah,
but I think too, like, don't necessarily have to start right away, but I think as a player, I would want to come in and play meaningful minutes right away. I don't think it needs to be a significant amount. Like, I'd be okay with like the 15, 17 minutes as a freshman, because like you said, you have to get acclimated to the system. College is a different game than high school. But if 12 of my 15 minutes are coming at the end of a half, when like maybe 6 minutes at the end of each half, when it's like a 25, 30-point lead, and that's when you empty the bench, that's a different story versus 15 minutes where it's, a 5-point game and coach trusts you enough to put you in. I think that's a different situation. But, I mean, everybody has to go through the growing pains. Everybody has to take their bumps in college, and high school and college are no different than NBA. You got to kind of earn your spot. And, yeah, some guys, freshmen like Bagley and the top guys, get the playing time right away. But for the lesser heralded guys coming out of high school, you might have to take that learning curve and play a few minutes off the bench to start and prove in those minutes that you're worthy of that a spot in the starting five.
Yeah, but like that, that's not to say like, you deserve right out of high school to play meaningful minutes. You deserve to be starting. I just mean, if you're going there to play college basketball, if you're not playing if you stay, because if you're good enough to go to the NBA, then obviously that's another story. But if you stay for the full 4 years, and if you're not playing meaningful minutes by like your junior, senior season because of the school you went to, because it has a lot of competition and stuff like that, then you should have made another decision. But because like with, we're kind of seeing it even with teams like, like Notre Dame, like DJ Harvey, we thought, he was a 4-star recruit coming into Notre Dame, and we all thought that he would have, basically went off, and he's needed some time to get accustomed to the system that Mike Bray plays and stuff like that. So it's not, I mean, all recruits are different, but a lot of guys need some time to get guys other than blue chip recruits. Guys need to get just kind of accustomed to, the players that are there and the playing style and the scheme and stuff like that. So
I guess it's easy for us to speculate what ifs and what nots, I guess. Like if situations played out this way and that way. Like we've never been in their shoes. We don't really know what they're going through, and we never will. Like our eligibility's gone and then some. So
not necessarily.
It's always fun.
Not necessarily. We could enroll.
Mine's gone.
No way.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. There's been guys to play college ball that are like, or I don't know college basketball, but I know there's been like some kickers in NCAA college football that have been like 40, 30.
No, it's done. I looked into it out of high school, out of college, first years of college. The year of school out here's a year of school down there. So your eligibility is gone once you graduate.
Oh yeah, obviously. But I thought you mean like if you don't. I thought you were talking that eligibility is linked to age.
Oh God, no, it's to school.
I was like, come on, Tyler, you know better than that.
I'm not that stupid. Give me some credit.
But you know what's been dope? How these recruits have been announcing their college decisions.
Before we go, did you just say dope?
Yeah. You ever seen that movie, Dope, by the way?
No.
Good movie. Look into it.
You watched some interesting stuff. Charles in Charge, dope. It's raising more questions than answers here, Ryan.
I'm just saying it was a good movie. A little small movie.
Duly noted. I'll be sure to put that in the list to watch later. Not a chance.
You're not gonna watch it.
Not a chance. But
you're gonna watch Belmont take on Eastern Illinois. That's what you're
on Saturday. You're probably right. I'll check in. I'll take a peek and see what's going on. Game of the day on Saturday. Eastern Illinois, Belmont, Ohio Valley Conference action.
Yeah, well, on our next show when we talk about the upcoming games, our listeners will understand why that statement is far from the truth.
From your point of view, it's far from the truth.
There's some pretty sweet games that are not named Belmont versus Eastern Illinois.
You'll have to check back on Friday to see what games we're looking forward to on the weekend. We talked about Hagans, and he announced his recruitment video by pulling a Georgia hat out of a Gucci bag, and that prompted us to sing Gucci Gang for about half an hour.
Good song.
And it raised the question: are recruitment videos getting out of hand, or are you a fan of how these kids are getting creative in announcing their recruitments?
I love them. I mean, even in football, a lot of the kids do it. They go on national TV, and they pick the hats, or sometimes they'll partner with some media companies and have them shoot and create like a full-fledged like production of a little bit of their backstory into why they chose their team. It's this big old production of what team they're going to choose. Like this one guy in Notre Dame's football team, he did he produced this video where he was like working out, and then eventually he started running all around town, and he would pass like billboards with like different teams. So he was getting recruited to Michigan State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. So he passed a Michigan billboard and he shook his head, and then Ohio State, and then he came to Notre Dame, and just like unique stuff like that. I think it's cool. I think it's a fun way to announce where you're going. I know Snoop Dogg's son went on national TV with Snoop Dogg to announce he was going to UCLA, and I want to see more of that. Like, I think it's creative and it's cool.
Yeah, no, I like seeing them. They're always interesting to see what kids come up with, and it adds a little extra excitement to it. It shows that they're excited to announce where they're going, and it shows they want to be there and they're willing to put the time in to announce it, and they know it's a big decision. So if they want to have some fun with one of the biggest decisions they'll make in their life, be my guest. I have no issues whatsoever. I think the people that do have an issue are about a bit crabby, fun sponges, if you will, like to suck the fun out of everything. But
we're not living in the old days.
No, it's 2018 now. I almost said it's 2017. I'm trying to get in this habit of New Year kind of thing.
And given with how just different forms of content, shifting from written to audio to digital, and just like how social media has become so big, I can see a lot of these schools maybe liking it just because that guy will obviously be in the news, whether it's ESPN or just in the news in general, that school gets press. So I think it works both ways, and we're not living in the Stone Age anymore.
It's all online. All the kids are on social media now too, so it's a good way to show everybody where they're committed to, and just adds a little extra dramatic, a little flair of the dramatic to it. And I think it's good. Yeah. I think more kids should do it. Everybody should do some sort of commitment video or announcement or post of some sort, not just say, I'm going to this school, yada yada woohoo. So
maybe I should have created a commitment video of whether I for my college decision when I was choosing.
You should have
the 3 schools that I was looking at.
Basically, it's for us. It's which ones accept us, not where we get offers to.
Or if you get all 3 letters, then you can kind of choose.
If you get more than one acceptance, then you can make a video. But if you get accepted to 1 of 3, you're kind of limited to 1.
Then you can make a dramatic video of why you chose that, even though that's the only choice you had.
Yeah, you didn't really choose them. They're the only ones that chose you. They should make a video for you why they chose you.
Yeah, exactly.
Flip it around on the school.
Because we're so important.
They should do that for every student at Brock.
Every student.
Instead of that little packet of confetti they give you.
When you get accepted to Brock, I was just about to say, they give you the confetti.
Yeah, they should do a video. They should do a video instead.
One of those guys to throw that up in the air.
I 100% did not. I threw mine out, actually.
100%.
Nicole threw hers. I did not throw mine. She kept hers all 3 years, and I did not throw mine at all. I don't know where it went.
Don't put this on Nicole. This was you. 100%.
Probably. Yeah. You see right through me. You see right through it. I don't know how you knew that. I don't know how you figured that out. But for this Wednesday, that's all for today. Be sure to tune in on Friday when Ryan and I are back to break down the week that was in college basketball and the weekend that will be. Take a look at the big headlines of the week and some games to watch over Saturday and Sunday, including Eastern Illinois and Belmont. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at College Court Report and Facebook. And if you feel like it, hit that red subscribe button for more digital content as the season progresses on the journey to March Madness. But for myself and Ryan, that's all for today. We'll chat with you on Friday. Cheers.
Cheers.